Hello everyone, welcome to the channel The Commerce Desk. Today we will see the explanation of telephone conversation poem written by Hol Swenka. This is the poem of the syllabus of class 12th ISC. Firstly, we will see the introduction of the poet. Hol Swenka is a Nigerian playwright, novelist, poet, and essayist in the English language. He was awarded the 1986 Nobel Prize in Literature for being a writer who, in a wide cultural perspective and with poetic overtones, fashions the drama of existence. The first sub Saharan African to be honored in that category. Telephone Conversation is a provocative satire of racial prejudice, misguided civility, and the power of language. The poem describes a phone call between a landlady and the speaker, who is black, about renting an apartment. The landlady is pleasant until she learns that the speaker is African, at which point she demands to know how light or dark the speaker's skin is. In response, the speaker cleverly mocks the landlady's ignorance and prejudice, demonstrating that characterizing people by their skin color diminishes their humanity. Now we will see stanza by stanza explanation. Stanza 1. The price seemed reasonable, location indifferent. The landlady swore she lived off premises. Nothing remained but self confession. Madam, I warned I hate a wasted journey. I am African. Silence. Silence transmission of pressurized good breeding voice. When it came, lipstick coated, long gold rolled cigarette holder piped, caught I was foully. At the beginning of this section, the speaker has found a place whose price is reasonable and location is convenient. Everything seems fine. That he honestly tells the land then he honestly tells the landlady, I am African. And suddenly there is silence. This silence is extremely important. The landlady was talking normally until she discovered his race. Her sudden silence suggests that she has a racial prejudice against Africans. The speaker's race becomes more important to the landlady than his suitability as a tenant. Guys, notice the turning point. The house hasn't changed, the rent hasn't changed, and the speaker hasn't changed. Only one thing has changed. She knows he is African. The landlady finally speaks. The poet describes her voice and appearance using details such as lipstick and a cigarette holder. This creates an image of a woman who appears sophisticated, upper class, refined, and well mannered. But here's the irony, her sophisticated appearance hides her prejudice. Soinka is showing us that politeness and refinement don't necessarily mean absence of racism. Now, stanza 2. How dark? I had not misheard. Are you light or very dark? Button B, button A. Stench of rancid breath of public hide and speak. Red booth. Red pillar box. Red double tired omnibus squelching tar. It was real. Shamed by ill mannered silence, surrender pushed dumbfoundment to beg simplification. Considerate she was, wearing the emphasis. Now comes the shocking question. The landlady asks the African speaker how dark he is. The speaker is surprised because he wasn't expecting such a question. He wonders whether he has understood her correctly. Then she clarifies that she wants to know how dark his skin is. Why is this important? The landlady isn't asking, "What kind of a person are you?" She's asking, "What color are you?" She is reducing a human being to his skin color. Racial prejudice and stereotyping. Now, stanza third. Are you dark or very light? Revelation came. Are you mean like plain or milk chocolate? Her accent was clinical, crushing in its light, impersonality. Rapidly, wavelength adjusted. I chose West African sepia, and as an afterthought, down in my passport, silence for spectroscopic fight of fancy, till truthfulness changed her accent. The speaker becomes confused and frustrated. Instead of immediately answering her, he describes the surroundings of the telephone booth, including the red booth and unpleasant smells. This creates a humorous situation. Why is he doing this? Because the landlady's question is so absurd that the speaker almost needs to step back and process it. The speaker uses humor to deal with an uncomfortable and insulting situation. The landlady doesn't give up. She wants a precise answer. She asks whether he is dark or very dark. Now the conversation becomes almost ridiculous. Think about it. Imagine someone deciding whether you can rent a house based on exactly how dark your skin is. That's the absurdity Soinka wants us to notice. The poet is using satire to expose racism. The speaker responds sarcastically by comparing skin color with different kinds of chocolate. This is one of the funniest moments in the poem, but there is a serious purpose behind the humor. What is the speaker doing? He takes the landlady's logic and pushing it to an absurd level. If she wants to classify humans according to shades of color, then he will treat himself like a color sample. He doesn't le- he doesn't directly shout at her. Instead, he makes her own question look ridiculous. The speaker finally gives her a more specific description of his complexion. He uses the expression West African sepia. Sepia refers to a brownish color, but notice what has happened. The speaker has been forced to describe himself almost like a color photograph. The landlady isn't seeing him as an individual. She's seeing an African dark skin category. That's exactly what Soinka is criticizing. The speaker adds that his nationality is mentioned in his passport. This is sarcastic. He is basically saying, if you are interested in knowing that I am African, the passport already tells you. But the landlady's real concern isn't nationality. Her real concern is how dark is he. This shows how deeply racial prejudice has affected her thinking. Stanza number 4. Hard on the mouthpiece starts that conceding don't know what that is, like brunette. That's dark, isn't it? Not altogether. Facially, I am brunette, but madam, you should see the rest of me. Palm of my hand, soles of my feet are a peroxide blonde. Friction caused foolishly, madam, by sitting down has turned my bottom raven black. One moment, madam, sensing her receiver rearing on the thunderclap about my ears, madam, I pleaded, wouldn't you rather see for yourself? The speaker now starts describing different parts of his body. He says that some parts are darker while other parts are much lighter. He even uses exaggerated comparisons because he deliberately takes her questions literally. The landlady wants to know exactly how dark are you, so he essentially gives her an absurdly detailed answer. He exposes the ridiculousness of judging an entire human being by skin color. The landlady becomes increasingly frustrated by his answers. She doesn't want jokes or complicated explanations. She wants a straightforward description of his appearance. The speaker realizes that she is trying to determine whether she wants to rent the room to him based on his complexion. The speaker's humor is actually a defense mechanism. He uses wit to maintain his dignity while dealing with an insulting situation. The landlady tries to simplify things by asking whether he is something like brunette. Again, she wants to categorize him according to appearance. The speaker continues playing with her logic. He explains that even his physical appearance cannot be reduced to one simple color. This makes the landlady's obsession look even more absurd. The landlady becomes so impatient that the telephone receiver is almost violently affected by her reaction. The speaker senses that the conversation is going nowhere. He finally asks her to see him for herself rather than trying to classify him over the phone. This is significant. The telephone creates a barrier between the two people. The landlady cannot see the person, she is only interested in an abstract idea, African. Now, what these sections are really showing? The entire conversation is actually a battle between landlady, what color are you, and the speaker, why should my color decide determine my worth? The speaker uses wit instead of anger, and Soinka uses humor instead of a direct lecture. That's what makes the poem so powerful. If you notice, the dialogues of the landlady are given in capital letters, block letters. By doing so, the poet wants us to focus our attention on the absurd questions asked by the landlady. Now, what are the exam important points from these pages? Silence. The landlady's silence after discovering the speaker is African reveals her prejudice. How dark shows that she is more interested in his skin color than his character. Chocolate comparison creates humor and exposes the absurdity of racial classification. West African sepia shows how the speaker is being reduced to a color rather than treated as an individual. Passport shows the difference between nationality and skin color. Humor. The speaker uses humor as a weapon against prejudice. Irony. The apparently sophisticated lady behaves in a narrow minded and discriminatory way. Satire. Soinka makes the landlady's obsession with skin color look ridiculous. The speaker discovers that the landlady's apparently polite attitude hides the racial prejudice, and he uses clever humor and irony to expose the absurdity of judging a person by skin color. The poem represents the discrimination. The poem also shows the sick mindset of the landlady and the resistance, the struggle for equality, clash of culture and identity. So, here we come to an end of the explanation. I hope that you all understood the poem. I will meet you in the next video. Thanks for watching.